The Dominican Republic, often known for its beaches and resorts, carries a heartbeat that goes far beyond the shoreline, a rhythm that takes over entire cities every year in February when the Carnival begins, transforming streets into rivers of color, music, and history that flow together to tell a story that started hundreds of years ago and continues to define what it means to be Dominican today. This video takes you deep inside that story, not just as a traveler watching from a distance, but as someone walking through the very heart of the celebration, hearing the drums, seeing the masks, feeling the energy, and understanding how a festival born out of history, freedom, and identity became one of the most vibrant expressions of culture in the Caribbean. From its ancient roots tracing back to colonial times to its modern-day parades that bring together millions of people, this is more than just a party, it's the soul of a nation on display. To understand Carnival in the Dominican Republic, you have to travel back in time to when enslaved Africans and Spanish settlers first began using costumes, masks, and dance to express both joy and defiance during colonial rule, long before the Republic was even independent, when art was one of the few freedoms people could still hold on to, and music became their way of surviving oppression. Over centuries, these traditions blended with indigenous Taino customs and European Catholic celebrations like Lent, creating a unique cultural fusion that still shapes the Dominican Carnival today. The festival slowly became a way for people to tell stories, to mock the powerful, to laugh in the face of fear, and to honor the strength of those who came before them. So, when you see the Carnival now, with its bright colors and contagious smiles, you're not just watching entertainment, you're witnessing history dancing through time. Every February, as the nation prepares for Independence Day on the 27th, the Dominican Republic bursts into life with parades that take over the cities, especially La Vega, Santiago, and Santo Domingo, each one with its unique style and traditions that reflect local creativity and pride. The air becomes electric as thousands of performers fill the streets, dressed in detailed costumes that can take months to design and build, covered in sequins, feathers, horns, and colors that seem to reflect the entire Caribbean sunset. Families, tourists, and locals gather to watch and to participate, because this isn't just a spectator event, it's something you feel and live. It's noisy, joyful, and deeply emotional as people come together to celebrate who they are, where they came from, and what they've built. Among the many characters you'll meet at Carnival, none are more iconic than the Diablos Cojuelos, the limping devils whose masks have become a national symbol of Dominican creativity and humor. Their costumes are both frightening and playful, with long horns, wide grins, and whips that snap in the air as they dance through the crowd. According to legend, these devils mock evil spirits and oppressive rulers, turning what was once meant to inspire fear into something to laugh at, a symbol of resistance through joy. Each region has its own version of the Diablo, from the bright and heavily ornamented masks of La Vega to the elegant and stylized designs in Santiago, proving that art here is personal, alive, and constantly evolving. The music that powers the Carnival is as important as the costumes, because in the Dominican Republic, rhythm is everything. The sound of merengue, the country's national music, dominates the atmosphere, blending drums, guara, accordion, and tambora into a sound that seems to make the ground vibrate beneath your feet. Bachata joins the rhythm, adding passion and movement to every corner of the parade route, while traditional drummers keep the beat alive for hours on end. Everywhere you turn, people are dancing, from children to grandparents, because Carnival isn't something you simply watch, it's something you move with. Even tourists who visit for the first time quickly find themselves swept up in the music, realizing that the Dominican spirit is best understood through motion. But beyond the loud music and bright costumes, there's a side of Carnival that tells you everything about Dominican life, the food, the laughter, the hospitality, and the deep sense of community that holds everything together. Street vendors line the road selling empanadas, fried plantains, chicharron, and fresh tropical juices, while families share meals right on the sidewalks, turning every parade into a massive neighborhood celebration. The smells of cooking fill the air, mixing with the scent of sweat, fabric paint, and fireworks, creating an atmosphere that feels overwhelmingly real, not polished for tourists, but genuinely Dominican. It's a reminder that what makes this country special isn't just what you see, but what you feel when you're there. The colors of Carnival represent more than decoration, they represent identity, stories, and emotion. Red and gold often symbolize power and triumph, while blue and green represent nature and hope, each costume telling a different story depending on the region it comes from. In La Vega, the parades are enormous, with floats, dancers, and artists filling the city from morning till night, turning the celebration into one of the most famous in the Caribbean. Santiago's Carnival focuses more on artistry and detail, where costume makers compete to outdo each other with craftsmanship that could easily belong in museums. In the capital, Santo Domingo, the celebration becomes more modern, with influences from every corner of the island blending together, proof that this festival belongs to everyone, no matter where they come from. Carnival is also a mirror that reflects the Dominican Republic's diversity. The people who participate come from every walk of life, from students to farmers, from musicians to craftsmen, all contributing their time and creativity to something bigger than themselves. In this way, Carnival becomes a unifying force, breaking social barriers and connecting generations through shared joy. It's not about who you are or what you have, but about how much spirit you bring. You'll see people dancing together who might never cross paths in daily life, all smiling, laughing, and celebrating the same flag. When people hear about the Dominican Republic, some only imagine beaches or headlines, but the truth is that the country is far more complex and beautiful than what outsiders often say. Yes, like any nation, it faces challenges, and during large events like Carnival, safety and organization are always important concerns. But the government and local communities work tirelessly to ensure visitors and locals enjoy the festival without harm, with police presence, medical stations, and community volunteers spread throughout the parades. The reality is that most tourists who attend Carnival find themselves surprised by how friendly and welcoming everyone is, realizing that the media rarely captures the warmth and respect that Dominicans show to guests. If you visit, the best advice is to experience Carnival with awareness, stay with locals, join group tours if needed, and keep your belongings safe, but don't let fear stop you from seeing something truly magical. Because the Dominican Republic, like most Caribbean nations, has learned how to turn challenges into celebration, transforming every moment into an opportunity for joy. It's a place where people know how to enjoy life, even when times are tough, and that's exactly what you feel at Carnival, resilience through happiness. One of the most powerful aspects of Dominican Carnival is how it connects to the country's independence. The final week of February, when the parades reach their peak, leads directly into Independence Day on the 27th, marking the Dominican Republic's separation from Haiti in 1844. That's why Carnival here isn't just about fun, it's about pride. Every drumbeat, every dance step, every flag waved in the air carries a sense of patriotism, not forced but heartfelt, as people remember their ancestors who fought for the freedom they now celebrate in color and sound. As the sun sets and the parades continue late into the night, you start to understand that the Dominican Republic doesn't celebrate just to entertain, it celebrates to remember, to unite, and to express gratitude for life itself. The energy never fades, it just changes form. Children run around with toy masks, elders tell stories, musicians keep playing, and everyone seems to find their own way to belong in the chaos. That's the real beauty of Carnival, it accepts everyone. Tourists often arrive expecting a show but leave realizing they've witnessed something far deeper, something cultural and emotional that stays with them long after they return home. Many visitors describe it as one of the most human experiences they've ever had, full of laughter, art, and authenticity. It's not scripted or commercialized beyond recognition, it still feels like a people's festival, created by and for Dominicans. The craftsmanship that goes into Carnival is worth admiring on its own. Mask makers, seamstresses, and artisans spend months preparing for the event, working in small workshops or even in their homes to create designs that are unique and personal. Each mask can take hundreds of hours, using materials like papier-mâché, cloth, paint, and even recycled objects. When you see them all together in the parade, it's easy to forget that behind every costume there's a story, a family, a dream, a tradition passed down through generations. And beyond the Carnival itself, the Dominican Republic offers countless reasons to visit, from its natural wonders like the beaches of Punta Cana and Samana Bay, to its colonial history in Santo Domingo, the first city of the New World. But Carnival gives you something that no resort can, a glimpse into the Dominican soul. It shows how the people live, love, and express themselves, not for tourists, but for each other. It's one of the few events that truly captures the country's rhythm, humor, and unity. Safety, as many travelers wonder, has improved greatly in recent years, especially around major cultural festivals. Locals are proud of their traditions and protective of their guests, often going out of their way to make sure foreigners feel at home. Like anywhere in the world, common sense is necessary. Don't flash valuables, stay aware of your surroundings, and travel with a trusted guide. But for the most part, the Dominican Republic welcomes visitors with open arms and genuine kindness. There's also a growing awareness about keeping Carnival sustainable and respectful. Organizers encourage recycling, local artisans are promoted over mass-produced imports, and there's a push to make sure young generations understand the cultural roots of what they're celebrating. In this sense, Carnival isn't stuck in the past, it's evolving, modernizing, and growing with the people. For many Dominicans, Carnival represents what it means to overcome hardship with joy, to take life's struggles and turn them into something worth dancing for. It's an attitude that defines the Dominican Republic as a nation, warm, resilient, and alive. You see it in their eyes, in the way they dance without restraint, in the way they welcome strangers like family. So when you watch the Dominican Carnival, you're not just seeing costumes or parades, you're witnessing the living heartbeat of an island that refuses to be defined by anything less than its own beauty and strength. The laughter, the sweat, the rhythm, it's all part of a story that belongs to everyone who calls the Dominican Republic home, and to anyone willing to experience it with an open heart. Behind the beauty of Carnival lies months of intense preparation that many outsiders never see, where entire communities dedicate their time, money, and creativity to bringing their characters to life, often starting right after the previous carnival ends. In neighborhoods across La Vega or Santiago, workshops fill with color and laughter as mask makers sculpt clay molds, tailors stitch sequined fabric, and young performers practice their dances in the streets. For many families, this isn't just a hobby, it's a legacy. Children grow up watching their parents and grandparents craft costumes, and by the time they're teenagers, they already know the rhythms, the moves, and the meaning behind every detail. This sense of belonging turns Carnival into something more than a performance. It becomes a reflection of family pride and cultural continuity that no tourist advertisement could ever capture. Walking through the Dominican Republic during Carnival season, you can sense that the celebration is everywhere, in the music that echoes from every corner, in the decorations hanging across neighborhoods, and in the excitement that fills even the smallest towns. The entire nation seems to vibrate with anticipation, and visitors quickly realize that the Dominican people don't need a stage to express their culture, the streets themselves are enough. Whether it's a group of kids practicing their dance routines in a schoolyard or a group of adults painting masks under palm trees, the energy feels contagious. You can see how the Carnival season becomes a time of connection, where even those who live abroad return home just to be part of it, proving how deeply rooted this celebration is in the Dominican heart. Each region's carnival has its own flavor, and exploring them gives you a true picture of the island's diversity. In La Vega, the most famous and traditional carnival, thousands of people fill the streets as Diablos Cojuelos leap, dance, and playfully chase spectators, snapping their whips as laughter fills the air. It's chaotic, loud, and completely unforgettable. Santiago de los Caballeros takes a slightly more artistic approach, where costume design becomes a matter of pride, with contests and exhibitions showcasing creativity that feels closer to fashion than folklore. Down in Santo Domingo, the capital, the carnival becomes a blend of everything: modern beats, traditional costumes, and global influences, as both locals and tourists join the dance. Even smaller towns like Bono and Monte Cristi bring their own character, proving that Carnival belongs to everyone, not just big cities. The historical backdrop of this festival adds layers to its meaning. During colonial times, enslaved Africans used song, dance, and masks to mock their masters and the Spanish elite, transforming symbols of fear into tools of liberation. Over time, these performances evolved, incorporating local tales, myths, and religious imagery. That's why when you see the Diablos Cojuelos, you're witnessing more than theater, you're witnessing a centuries-old act of resistance disguised as entertainment. The ability to laugh in the face of hardship, to turn oppression into art, is what gives Dominican Carnival its depth. It's not just joy for joy's sake, it's joy as a statement of survival. What's also fascinating is how this festival ties together religion and freedom. While Carnival's roots connect to pre-Lenten celebrations brought by Europeans, the Dominican version took a life of its own, breaking away from strict religious traditions and becoming something fully local. The final parades, which fall close to Independence Day, bring together spirituality, patriotism, and cultural expression in a way that feels entirely unique. In those moments, you can feel both reverence and rebellion, a country that honors its faith and its freedom in the same breath. When the parades reach their peak, especially in La Vega, the scene becomes overwhelming in the best possible way. Streets close down completely as floats move slowly through the crowd, dancers twirl in sync, and bands play from trucks decorated with national colors. Tourists stand side by side with locals, waving flags, taking pictures, or simply swaying to the music. There's no separation between performer and spectator, everyone becomes part of the same rhythm. For many travelers, this moment becomes a highlight of their visit, not just because of the spectacle, but because of the feeling of being included, of being welcomed into something real. If you look closely, you'll see how Carnival also serves as a mirror of Dominican humor and creativity. The costumes don't only represent devils or spirits, they often include satirical figures, caricatures of politicians, celebrities, or social themes, turning the parade into a walking commentary on life in the country. It's how Dominicans express opinions without anger, using art to make statements that provoke laughter instead of division. This sense of humor reflects a larger truth about the Dominican Republic, that it's a nation that prefers joy over bitterness, even when facing real challenges. The preparation for Carnival goes beyond art, it's also an economic engine that supports thousands of people. Artisans, tailors, musicians, food vendors, and small business owners all rely on the festival season. Local economies in cities like La Vega and Santiago boom during this period, as hotels fill up, restaurants stay open late, and visitors from across the Caribbean and Latin America arrive to experience the spectacle. For the Dominican people, this isn't just tradition, it's livelihood. And it's a perfect example of how culture, when preserved and celebrated, can fuel prosperity. Still, no large event comes without challenges. Crowds can be dense, noise levels high, and the excitement sometimes overwhelming for newcomers. But this is where preparation and community organization come in. Over the years, authorities have worked hard to improve safety, setting up designated areas, emergency teams, and strict controls to make sure the experience remains enjoyable for everyone. Many travelers who once had doubts about attending Carnival later describe it as one of the safest and friendliest cultural events they've visited, largely thanks to the kindness of local people who take pride in ensuring guests leave with good memories. And that kindness is something you feel everywhere in the Dominican Republic. The people are open, welcoming, and curious, eager to share their culture with anyone willing to listen. Even if you don't speak Spanish, smiles and music bridge the gap. If you get lost in the crowd, someone will guide you. If you're unsure where to go, locals will tell you the best spot to stand or eat. It's this human warmth that makes visitors fall in love with the country, often returning year after year not just for the beaches.